It's the return of Eli. But just for a hot second, this is Felicity Was Here. Welcome back to Felicity Was Here. I'm Heather.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Dr. Joe.
And today we're discussing Felicity Season 2, Episode 9, Portraits. Hello, ladies. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Doing great.
How's everyone's Thanksgivings?
Boring?
Very low key.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Needed more punch.
Right? Actually, no. I had plenty of drinks. Not like a lot in one sitting, but like every day I had like a cocktail here or there, a glass of wine, and it was too much already. So, but also very chill.
Yeah.
Got to see Melissa for brunch.
That's right. That was fun.
We had our little cardboard cutout of Dr. Joe with us. Well, we are on to the finals episode of their first semester of sophomore year. It's crazy. That feels like a halfway point, even though I think in a couple more episodes it'll be halfway. So it's crazy that we're like almost halfway through season 2 already.
Yeah. I don't even remember the first handful of episodes.
She still had long hair. She was still crazy about Ben. It does feel like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it really does.
She's a totally different Felicity.
It really is.
Well, on that note, to start, we have some more listener mail. So we have another very kind email from Jamie. She says, "Hello, ladies. Hope you all are doing well. And once again, thanks for the great Felicity podcast." Thank you. It's Jamie again. I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts on the first half of season 2, since it will be coming to an end with the upcoming Thanksgiving and Christmas episodes. As I'm sure you all know, the big lore of season 2 is that the ratings significantly suffered post-haircut. And while the haircut is not great, I would say the decline in ratings probably had more to do with the storytelling and lack of cohesion with cast. Season 2 started off strong with the first 2 episodes, Sophomoric and The List. And then the tone of the show drastically changes. The cast seems to be separated in 2 camps, Felicity, Noel, Elena, and then Ben, Julie, Sean. Julie will occasionally share scenes with Felicity and Elena, but other than that, there is no interaction between the 2 camps. Felicity and Ben only have 1 episode post-breakup where they share scenes. Ben never even meets David. Another thing that is not working is Felicity, Ben, and Noel all have new love interests in David, Maggie, and Ruby, none of which are really working. I would say Noel and Ruby have the most potential. However, the weird dynamic with him and Felicity is keeping me from investing in that relationship. I'm going to just do a little redacted for I don't want to spoil the rest of the season, but Jamie says she does understand the purpose of David and Maggie. She just wishes it was more compelling to watch. Perhaps if there was better chemistry between the actors, it wouldn't be such a struggle. So those are my thoughts on this first half of season 2. Very curious to hear what you think, and thanks for all you do. Well, thank you very much, Jamie, for your lovely analysis and note back to us. And it is kind of the perfect time to do like a midway through the season thoughts. I agree with a lot of what she said. Like we've mentioned the 2 different camps have really formed. And it is a little jarring to like have them so separated. And we do have Julie in a couple of scenes, but same thing. Like they made, she made up with Felicity, but they're not really close friends. So it seems like we got the 3 Musketeers on one side in the loft, and then we've got the other 3 Musketeers, even though Elena doesn't really have a big role either yet this season. So I do think that definitely adds to kind of a slog, I guess, in this early season 2 here.
Yeah, it's kind of disjointed.
I mean, we're so used to seeing the whole group kind of in different situations from the first season, so it almost felt like watching 2 different shows, like the Felicity, Noel, Elena show, like Three's Company, and then the little side stuff going on with Ben and Julie and Sean. So, yeah, I definitely prefer the second half of this season to this nonsense that's been going on.
I agree.
Yeah, and I almost feel like, especially with this episode, but I feel like it's also been the Felicity and Noel show this whole first half of the season here. Yeah. Like Elena doesn't have a good storyline. Julie doesn't really have her own storyline. There's one starting now finally in this episode. And even Ben and like the Maggie thing, it was just kind of like random. I don't know. Yeah, it was like going on in the background, but there wasn't much to it there. Just some added drama. So I feel like it's been very much focused on Felicity and Noel and like their little periphery of their drama. So I'm excited to see everyone start to have a storyline again that kind of matters to the story. And then what do you all think about the love interests, David, Maggie, and Ruby?
I like Ruby.
Me too.
Yeah. We've talked about that before. We all liked Noel and Ruby together. I mean, definitely, we all knew David and Maggie were trash and they wouldn't be around for a while. So
They weren't long
they
for
were
this
just
world.
little speed bumps in the way. Yeah, you have to
Aw.
have those little.
You gotta kiss a lot of
know.
frogs.
Yeah. But definitely liked Ruby and like the cute chemistry that she and Noel have been doing. So yeah.
But I would agree that this build-up with Felicity and Noel kind of keeps you from investing fully in
Exactly.
it. So I think we'll finally see some headway there in this episode. It's all going to kind of come to a head now. Let's dive into the episode then. So last week, as a reminder for Thanksgiving, Felicity and David broke up after she kissed drunk Noel. And she also told her parents that she dropped pre-med for art. Maggie outed her affair with Ben to her husband at a charity party, which was
So classy.
just great idea at a glorified Starbucks.
And it's good for business too. As a caterer, that sounds really good for business.
She's really good at like separating professional life with it's really great. Oh, glad that's over. So now, episode 9, Portraits, was written by Jed Seidel and directed by Larry Trilling, whose name we will see many, many times for this series. So first, we open on a nude drawing of two people kissing who look very much like Noel and Felicity. Professor Sherman asks for the class's feedback on this sketch, and Felicity chimes in that she can't put her finger on it, but something feels wrong. And Sherman's like, well, maybe what's wrong is that you are a manipulator and a liar and a bit of a slut. And so at first we're like, whoa, she's really saying that in class? Like, the class is all laughing along. Felicity gets up to leave. I mean, I would be offended too. I would walk out of there. And then there's a classmate named Bruce, who I don't think we've met before. I didn't remember him from a previous episode, but his name comes up a couple times in this episode. So his name's Bruce. He comes up to her and says, like, wow, that really sucks. And then he kisses her. So this is just a really wild open here. She pushes him away, like, ew, what are you doing? Why are you kissing me, Bruce? And then we see that it's actually Noel. So we're like, oh, okay, something's going on here. This ain't real life. So Noel asks her, why did you push me away? She's like, no, I didn't mean to. And Noel says, it's because you're still in love with me. So, of course, it's a dream. Felicity wakes up with the bell of her alarm and says, dear Sally, the dream started Thanksgiving night. And basically her kiss with Noel stirred up all these feelings that she was trying to avoid. So in actual art class, she goes to sit down. Noel comes in. There's definitely some awkwardness between them. But Noel gets right to the point and says that the kiss was a stupid, drunken mistake and he feels guilty about it. Felicity says her too. And then they discuss how they're basically going to be in trouble with Sherman because they were caught kissing by her. But Noel's like, nah, she's a professional. Like, this is going to be fine. She's not going to give us a bad grade just because of that kiss. But Sherman comes in, sees them sitting next to each other. Her face kind of drops and she just walks away. So they agree. Nope, we're dead. And I'm like, Noel, but is she a professional?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that's a good point.
I would have dropped
She's
that
not-
class. I would have been out of there.
I'll take the W. As in withdraw, not win.
But yeah, Noel's like, no, she's a professional. She couldn't possibly like hold it against us. I'm like, this is also the professor who literally asked out her student for her son without him even knowing. So I mean, that was generous of him. I will say that.
Or stupid.
Or stupid.
Naive.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
So Felicity tells Sally that even though she didn't want a serious relationship, she couldn't stop thinking about Noel. And then she says, Noel, like in this, oh, Noel way. So in art class, it looks like another class of their, I feel like half the episodes in art class here. Sherman gives them their next assignment. They're supposed to do 2 self-portraits, one as you see yourself and one how you think the world sees you. And then you're going to pair off and do each other's portraits with a partner. Sherman says to choose a face you like, because you're going to be looking at it a lot. So Felicity and Noel kind of look at each other. Noel says he wants to do this with her. She's like, great, me too. So after class, Felicity and Noel walk up to Professor Sherman to tell her that they're going to be partners for the final. Is that okay? That's okay, right? Sherman's like, sure, that's fine. So then Felicity says what Sherman saw at Thanksgiving wasn't about David. Noel's like, no, it was your punch. Ha ha ha. And that doesn't land. So he's like, all right, I'm going. He made me laugh. So Sherman asks Felicity, do you have a class-related question? Again, this is the professor who asked out her student for her son. I'm like, now you want to have a boundary?
Who are you? Yeah, exactly.
So Felicity asks her, like, is what happened going to affect our student-teacher relationship? And Sherman's like, I'm going to pretend you didn't ask that. See you next week.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah. I just love that, like, Felicity always has to be on good terms with her teacher.
Always.
It's so
awkward. Don't say anything. Just be quiet.
Right. Yeah. It reeks of, are we okay?
Yes.
From the first season.
Did you not learn anything?
Yeah, and McGrath, she approaches McGrath and be like, oh, I feel like you don't like me because I want to do art too, or so. I don't even remember, but yeah, she does this with all her teachers.
Does she grow that in season 3 and 4? I can't remember. I really hope so. Like, when is this going to end? When is this madness going to end?
Yeah, I think the end of this season we get some more professor stuff with a different professor, but then I don't think we get any more, like, new professors that we meet. Not for Felicity, at least.
Great.
So yeah, I think she'll grow out of it. So then at the loft, Sean is on the phone, Julie's sitting on the couch, and he gets off the phone. He's super excited and tells Julie that someone tried Smooth A's at the Thanksgiving charity event and just totally freaked out. He's an investor and wants to distribute Smooth A's to restaurant chains. So Julie's all excited for him, gives him a hug, says that she's going to buy him a drink at Epstein. She's playing there tonight and has sent out a bunch of her flyers and things and so, like, a bunch of music people might actually be there. So they're kind of bonding over that, and Ben bursts in. He's stressed about an American lit paper that is due tomorrow that he hasn't even started yet. And I gotta say, it felt a little refreshing. I was like, oh, we're back to classic Ben. Like, I felt like we were just like, forget about all the Maggie stuff. Like, it felt like classic Ben again. I don't know. It was comforting.
Back to his old self.
Yeah, it was comforting.
Yeah, she changed him, and not for the better. So, yeah, I guess she obviously messed up his semester because he didn't start his paper. He must have been really distracted.
He was too busy eating pastries.
Too busy getting busy.
She forgot that college students have, like, class and studying and homework.
She literally did forget that many times, I think.
Then Felicity tells Sally that she thought that their dreams would stop, but they've only gotten more intense. So now we see Felicity in an art studio with a bunch of people sketching. She's wandering through these billowy curtains, and Noel appears, and he says he missed her so much, and he goes to kiss her. But then, in the best return cameo ever, Eli pops up and says he had her first, and Noel can never take that away from him, no matter how much he loves her. And then David appears and he says that he's the one who taught her how to really make love. And I'm like, but they weren't in love. Okay. And then Ben pops up and says, oh, but I'm her soulmate. And Noel's like, no, I am. And then Lucky appears, Lucky the dog. And speaking in French, en français, he says, I am a metaphor for your sexual ambivalence and confusion. And I just want to say, see, Melissa, we weren't wrong. There's tons of symbolism with the dog.
Absolutely right. I do have to say,
take a shot.
Eli appearing was the best part of this episode.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't we get more? I can't believe that's the only little breadcrumbs we get.
Little nugget. Yeah.
You know what would have been cool if he was taking that art class too, and then, like, she got to, like, talk with him a little bit and kind of, like, figure out her situation with Noel by talking to Eli, and he, like, helps her through it. That would have been cute.
Yeah.
Also,
anything with Eli, I would
anything. And he did a lot of portraits of her too before, right? Like, didn't he draw her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that
That's
was
literally how they
cool.
had sex, because he
Yeah.
wanted to draw her, and he had his little statement necklace on again. It was just it was just perfect. And we need more Eli. I'm so sad that's the last we're gonna see of him. I was like, that's the only thing we have to look forward to, is seeing Eli again. After Lucky, then we cut to Felicity staring into Noel's beautiful hazel eyes, and they are sketching each other's portraits. So she was kind of dazing off thinking about this dream that we just saw. So all of the men in her life have appeared to her in her dream. She's clearly thinking through, I guess, all of these relationships.
So there's only one observation I have. I ran really dry on this episode. I have one note for the entire episode. And this is it. I know.
All right, well, this is going to be a 15-minute episode.
Well, I was thinking about, I had to do like my whole little psych thing and dream meaning and interpretation stuff. And the only thing, and this is just really obvious to me, is like a brick in the face, kind of obvious. The messages that they were giving her in her dream seem like a reflection of how she sees herself and how she thinks others see her. And that is exactly what the portraits assignment is. Wow. So that was a nice little connection. And that's all I've got.
I love that.
That's a good one. That's all we need.
Okay, good.
That was lovely.
I was hoping you'd have something on the like dream interpretation. I don't know if there's much of that in psychology, but I was hoping you'd have something.
That's all. Yeah,
okay.
Just it sounded like those are her fears or her negative thoughts about herself, and just the portraits, have to do with how you see yourself and how others see you. So, like, yep, there it is. There's the tie-in.
Wow.
What's the metaphor for Lucky speaking in French specifically? What do you think that was about?
That's right, Heather. What do you think?
Well, we know she speaks French, and her first date with David, he was like speaking French and all that.
Okay.
I also think it just gave it like that really emo, moody, like French noir film. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's a trope in television. I'm trying to think of another TV show that did this. Why can't I think of the show? I can like picture the scene in my mind, but I'm trying to think of who is in it. And there's like a balloon. They're like holding a balloon and like playing chess, and it's like a black and white French movie. Hey everyone, future Heather here. Of course, I thought of the reference later that evening. It was the movie 500 Days of Summer with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, where he goes to a movie theater to see a black and white art house French film that is very maudlin and emotional, and he then starts to see himself in the movie. So that is what I was thinking of. Now back to the pop. I feel like there's a trope about very emotional, pensive French films, and so I feel like that's just like the vibe that maybe they were trying to go for with the dream. That's all I got.
Makes sense.
And maybe because French is like the romantic language. I don't know. She's thinking about love and sex. So as they are now sketching each other's portraits, Felicity says that she is not looking forward to doing her self-portrait. She doesn't want to stare at her face and every little pore for hours. Yuck. But Noel says, drawing you, yuck isn't the word that I would use to describe that.
Come on, buddy.
So cute.
Come on. Yeah, if he said it to his girlfriend.
I know.
Yeah. Not appropriate.
It's like, that's a thought bubble, not a word bubble. Keep that in the inside.
That's a think it, not a say it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he could have just been like, "Oh, like you're not yuck.
Playing girl."
Yeah,
yeah.
So Felicity then asks, "How's Ruby?" So Noel says that she's in LA, that she'll be back in a few weeks, but so far she's unimpressed with the whole Hollywood scene. So Felicity says, "You must miss her." He says, "Yeah." So I feel like she's kind of trying to suss things out. Yeah, like trying to see where his head is at with Ruby, but doesn't get much, just that like Ruby's still away. So Felicity tells Sally that she thought she must be imagining all of these signals from Noel, but then something happened. After sketching, they took a TV break and they must have passed out. They were so tired. And when she woke up, she could feel his breath against her neck, and Noel had his arm around her. And they're like spooning on the couch together. Pausing there. I don't understand how that just happens.
No, that doesn't just happen.
Have you ever gotten so exhausted while you were doing art, Melissa, like that you just passed out in somebody's arms? Like that doesn't happen?
Not.
Are you
with
serious?
a friend.
Happen.
And your
That's
friend.
not commonplace. What are you saying? How? Oh my
As
gosh.
Dr. Joe likes to say, you and Dr. Joe have never accidentally fallen asleep.
No.
I
Tragically,
knew that
no.
was coming.
Regrettably, no.
Oh.
I mean, it was so cute, but like you said, he's currently taken. So yeah,
That's yuck.
I know. I'm sorry.
I didn't notice it. I honestly was so confused while I was watching the episode that I didn't even see that scene.
What?
I don't know what I know. I know. My eyeballs, man. Can't trust them.
Well, you didn't miss anything.
I didn't miss anything good, yeah.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Guess what? I saw Wicked today and it was so good.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I already knew it was going to be good because I saw the musical twice in real life. It was amazing. I loved it.
Okay.
I want to see it 18 more times.
I mean, everyone's saying it's amazing. I just like can't get over how blah the colors are in the previews, in the trailer.
Wow. What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
They need like colorists in Hollywood.
Well, the costume design is fantastic.
No, the design is amazing, but like whoever colors the cinematography, like whoever colors it, it's so blah. I'll have to find. I saw comparisons with like the original Wizard of Oz and Wicked, and it's like everything's really pale. It's weird. It's like washed out.
Isn't that washed out in the movie, the actual movie itself? I didn't feel like
I'll find the thing and I'll send it to you. But
how about you watch it and then tell me I'm wrong, and then we'll have.
I'm
probably
gonna see it. So anyway, yeah, you didn't miss much with the co-napping because Felicity is then relaying all of this to Elena, and Elena asks what happened when they woke up. Felicity says nothing. They just like got up and went back to drawing as if nothing had happened. And I'm like, that's also awkward. Like, how do you like your arms around the other person and like you just let's start sketching again? I don't know. That to me, I'd be like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'd be like, ooh, sorry, hee hee.
Gotta go. I've got diarrhea. Bye. You gotta run out of there in that situation.
No, I'd be like, I would like to keep spooning with you. Do you want to keep spooning with me? Let's keep doing that. You know, like if she likes him, I don't know. I wouldn't run away. I'd be like, hey, can we make this happen every day?
I mean, as long as we're already here, so like, what's up?
And it did remind me though of season 1 when they have like their cute spooning moments when they were together.
But
that's all. I'm just going on nostalgia right now. I know. Yeah. I'm just like, that's the nostalgia's just carrying me through this season. So yeah, they just went back to drawing. Elena says, well, what about not wanting to be in a relationship right now? Like, yeah, literally 2 days ago, you told David you don't want to be doing anything serious. You don't want to be in anything serious. So Felicity says that, yeah, she meant that with David. But last year she had the chance to be with Noel. And if she had the chance again, she just doesn't want to make the same mistake again. She says, unless it's all just wishful thinking. She asks Elena, are Ruby and Noel serious? Elena's like, I don't know, I think he likes her. But they, you and Noel have this history and she's been out of town. She's like, so how serious could it really be? She's like, look, you've been dancing around this long enough, like time to face it, right? So Felicity heads over to Noel's to tell him about her thoughts and her feelings, knocks on the door, and Ruby answers the door. Her schedule was shifted, so she's now back in town from LA.
And Noel's in the shower, right?
Yes. She's like, come on in. Noel's in the shower. I'm like, do you live together? Like, it was a very, like, come on in. Like, you're the guest. I'm with Noel. It was, yeah.
No, but like that whole, like, oh, he's in the shower. I've heard that so many times in other shows and movies, and it's like such a drop, like, we just bang. Yeah. Like, that's mine. You can't have it. It sends a certain message when somebody's like, oh, he's in the shower.
Because I just got back 2 hours ago.
Yeah. So we reunited. We reconnected, literally. That's gross.
We're going to be wild on this episode. So yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that Felicity like now has all these feelings that she's trying to figure it out. And I kind of agree with Elena, which is like, you have a longer history. Ruby's been gone, seems like forever now. So like, how serious is it really? But to Dr. Joe's point from probably the last few episodes, like Noel and Felicity told Ruby like nothing, we're just friends. There's nothing between us. So I think that's what's tough about this situation. Like Felicity's single now, but Noel is not. So
Not that that stopped him on Thanksgiving, but
No. Or season 1. So,
and it is hard. Well, it's hard because we don't see scenes with him talking on the phone with her or scenes like emailing her or something or getting an email from her or letter, whatever. Like, we don't see any of that getting developed in the background at all because there was so much emphasis on Noel and Felicity.
mm-hmm.
So that would have been kind of nice to see something. So we, like Jamie was saying, could have been a little bit more invested in it. Like, something a little bit more tangible to hold on to.
Yeah. I think the only thing we got was like, oh, that was Ruby on the phone. She can't come back for Thanksgiving. Like, I feel like that's all we got. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing. It would have been.
And she's off kissing Tom Cruise. We needed a little more.
Or even him freaking out about that in the background occasionally. Like, oh my gosh, you're never going to believe what Ruby did today on set. Like, something that has some evidence that they're in communication ever.
Doesn't she mention later about the care packages that he sent her?
Right.
Okay,
but
so we
don't
could have seen
that.
like, like, let's see a shot of him packing up a little box with like cute things to send to her.
Even if Felicity would accidentally see it and be like, I wish that was for me. That could have been for me. That was me. Or something, just something in the background would have been nice. And not just kind of throwing it in there, when Ruby says it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he really does care about her. Oh, he really is sweet. Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I didn't see any of that. And that's why I'm like, barf every time they have some interaction.
So then later, Felicity is sketching at Noel's again, and they decide to take a little break. And Felicity sees Noel's Christmas shopping on the table. So she starts digging in there, pulls out a Palm Pilot. That's a throwback. I was like, wow, a Palm, like, isn't that even pre-BlackBerry? That was like
must have been
the first personal handheld device ever. So that inspired your iPhones, kids. So she pulls out the Palm and Felicity asks, which teacher are you trying to butter up? And I was like, that might be for Ruby, but he can't decide what to do. He also pulls out a sweater. He's like, how's this sweater? Felicity's like, that's really nice. And he's like, or this bracelet. Pulls out this cute little bracelet. He's like, is this too much? Or is like the Palm Pilot too impersonal? She says she's really disorganized, but like, I don't know, it just seems kind of like a techie, gadgety gift. Is that really romantic enough? So he's really trying to get Felicity's advice here, which I did feel like was the whole season has been mixed messages, but like just a second ago, they're staring into each other's eyes, and now he's like, oh, what do I get Ruby? So I get that they're probably best friends, but they definitely have something going on underneath here.
Right.
So
that would have been a scene also that Elena could have been a part of, if not the three of them, like, hey, roommate, what do you think about this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not Elena's which one straight up. She's
which one
straight.
do you want?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would have been less messy. But this show loves messy, so here we are.
Yeah, we gotta get some mess. So he's really asking for Felicity's advice, but she basically tells him that she's got a personal interest at stake, so she can't give him advice. Then finally, she point blank says, I want to go out with you again. She's like, not sure how serious you are with Ruby, or like if you'd even be interested if you were single. But that's what she wants. So Noel all of a sudden is reeling. He says he's physically reeling, sits down like he can't feel his legs, like he's gonna faint or something. So Felicity also sits down. He says this is bad timing, what she's saying. She's like, yeah, I know, sorry. And I love this part, and like I wish it ended here though. So then Noel discusses a story. He says he saw a stunt guy on the news doing this like insane jump over 60 school buses. He tried it and he missed. He like broke all of his bones on the 59th bus. And the news crew interviewed him from the hospital. He was all bandaged up, like only his eyes showing. And they asked him if he was going to try again, and he said no. And when they asked him why, he said, because I really missed the first time. And I like get goosebumps when I hear him tell that, because like it is such a good analogy. Like, wow, we really fucked it up last year. And so maybe we're good, right? Like maybe we don't need to, like, yeah, there's other feelings here, but like we really missed the mark last time. And that was also my angsty away message of the week. I really missed the first time.
Perfect.
Because I just love that story, and like I thought it was such a mature response.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the episode, we just like keep going downhill from there.
Yeah.
Well, and even episodes before this, his words right now are not congruent with all of his actions and words this entire season so far.
No. The
so
eyelash.
It's like, it's kind of empty. Yeah, eyelash.
The wondering what it would have been like to sleep with her.
Oh my
blah, blah,
God.
blah.
Hey, they've still got the mystery.
That's, oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, you're right. That would have been a nice ending to this episode. And then they're just like, yeah, we should be best friends. And that's
or if that happened at the top of the season and just have something else happen with somebody else, anybody else.
So
like
that was,
so many other else's.
That was going to be my biggest thought for this episode was I wish all of this had happened right when Noel and Ruby first met. Like, I wish they had confronted all of their feelings way earlier in the season. I wish this happened then, before him and Ruby were even remotely serious, that they had this conversation, and then they could literally move on with all of the people that they're dating, and that's it. Because they've drawn this out so much now that I'm also, as an old person, like, let down. That, like, we had all that buildup for 9 episodes.
For what?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
Yeah.
For them to almost kiss again, but not really. And then both of them just to be like, oh, yeah, I think, you better go with Ruby. Like, okay. It was such a letdown. I don't know.
Who the fuck wrote this shit? Everybody, all these episodes up to this point, this entire second.
I was like, this one is Jed Seidel.
Well,
Jed.
Gonna have some words.
Did
with that
Jed
also
later. Write Felicity Summer? Was he a part of that?
No, that was a Janet something. Maybe that's a
I
pen
feel
name.
like this was a group effort. Like, a lot of people contributed to this going off the rails.
And that's something that Jamie's email earlier got me thinking about, because as we're going through these episodes, looking up who's the writer for all these episodes, I guess I had this fantasy or this notion that there's like a writer's room and there's a whole team of writers, and every week they're all, collaborating on an episode, and it's the same people every single week. But seeing that it's like, this one's by Jed somebody and this one's by Paul somebody, and I'm just like, how do TV shows keep it consistent and like make sure that maybe JJ and Matt are like always supervising and making sure that things seem like to resonate or that they're authentic to the characters. But I'm just like, how can they be expected to keep things like consistent
like
and
the
make
same
sense?
voice, the same tone.
Yeah, if they have different writers every week, that's something that has definitely surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure it's probably the same group of people in the writer's room, and then they just take turns being the head writer.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe one person is like the lead each time.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a million people that are writing. It's just, you're not going to list 10 people on every episode.
Yeah, or like maybe JJ and Matt also like plot out the whole season, and then it's like, all right, who's going to take this one? Maybe that's how they do it,
the
too.
main beef.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they weren't involved enough. I don't know. I need to get to the bottom
that's why I
of this
say, I'm like,
point.
that's why it's just so weird that...
Something like, what was going on at that time? Like, what was happening in the world?
I don't remember strikes until later. I feel
yeah, I know you had
early 2000s.
But it's like, I want to understand why the first half of the season is so disjointed and discombobulated and just disappointing.
It's a mystery. I don't know. Maybe with the haircut, they were just trying something new, and then they're like, okay, this isn't working. I don't know.
I don't think they know either, but we'll see. We'll see. They can turn the ship around, maybe.
So then Felicity tells Noel, you just said the perfect thing, and thank you for being honest back. Noel says, now he feels weird. It's like reverse reeling. Felicity says, don't. Like, now we can just move on. And so then they start sketching each other again, and she tells Noel to give Ruby the bracelet because that's what she'd want. Then at Epstein Bar, Julie is playing her open mic night, and Sean, of course, is there watching her, cheering her on. I also feel like Julie doesn't have any friends, just Sean at this point, which is a little weird. I feel like all these people need more friends. That's just me.
I think that's typical of any show, though.
Yeah.
Any ensemble show, you're only going to see the main cast and not...
Yeah.
But like Ben's not there, Elena's not there, like Sean's the only one there.
It's finals.
Oh, that's true. And
it's
Sean
finals.
has no life.
She shouldn't even be there.
You're right.
She shouldn't
You're
be there.
right.
Yeah,
he's
not.
They do have a friend. What's his name? Lynn. Then they just disappear.
Yeah. Yep.
Or Elena's friend sleeps with her boyfriend. Like, none of these people are quality people.
Richard's not even here.
Where's Richard?
What the hell? Where's Guy? He's gone.
Guy's
He's
gone.
Yeah.
No Eli. Well, just for a hot second this episode.
I think the money thing, that's extra people they have to pay to talk and stuff like that. And extra dialogue they have to write. Bodies. That's just their work. And time.
Bummer. Well, season 3, we do get more new people.
This is true.
But season 2, we don't.
Some of them are pretty fucking annoying.
Oh,
so
God.
Maybe we should
Don't get
just
me
stick
started.
with... Maybe we should just stick with this little group here, because
exactly.
they run into some dumbass motherfuckers.
But you're very right. Sean has no life,
Yeah,
and no job,
tracks.
no finals, so that's why he's there. That's right. So as Julie gets off the stage, a guy kind of pulls her to the side and says that he found her flyer in his mailbox. His name is Eric Kidd, and he's the head of A&R at Pop Rocks Records, which sounds so made up. Like, I know he's got a business card, but oh my God, does it sound made up? Pop Rocks. Yeah, my record label, Jazz Blues.
Oh, I'm from Kit Kat Records. Like, I'm from Twix Records. Pop Rocks. I want to eat some of them so bad now.
Oh.
So yeah, Pop Rocks is apparently growing. They're small, but they're interested in new talent. He asks her if she's recorded before. She's like, oh, just like cheesy tapes from my room, and you can hear like cars and cats in the background. But Eric's like, oh, I would love to hear it. So Sean then comes up to Julie and gets introduced to Eric as well. But Eric gives Julie his business card, says he would love to hear those tapes, and he leaves. Right away, I also did not like Eric. He slimy, like a car salesman.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. He looked terrible, sounded terrible, everything about him
I think it was
terrible.
The glasses. I'm like, only Javier can pull those off.
Like a bad disguise or something. I don't know. He looked awful.
He was too smooth. That's how I felt, yeah. So then in chemistry class, Felicity decides to visit Elena in the middle of lab, and she's with her new lab partner, Gwen, who I would not want to be my doctor, that's for sure. She's a slow talker, but also just, doesn't seem too bright. So Felicity says that Noel's the best, but then explains that he dumped her. Elena's like, I'm sorry, were you in a relationship? What did I miss? But Felicity says she told him about her feelings for him and that she wanted to go out with him again. And Noel told her no, that he likes Ruby. Elena said she was sorry, but Felicity continues. She's like, yeah, it's fine, but like, I respect his decision. Elena's like, oh, and that only makes you want him more, right? Felicity's like, yep, damn straight. So then at Epstein, we see Noel and Ruby are studying, and Noel decides to give her her Christmas present then. So Ruby unwraps it and sees that it's a Palm Pilot. She is very excited about it, though. I don't know why I laughed so hard. It was literally a second, but at the very end of the scene, she was like, okay, and she just kind of hands it to him. She's like, now hook it up. Here you go. Now hook it up for me, please. Like, it was such a boyfriend-girlfriend moment. It was really cute. I don't know. It was like a very passing second, but I just thought it was like such a cute little moment. She was like, okay, hook it up, please.
Adorable.
But
they do that at Epstein.
I don't know. They're studying at a bar / pub / whatever Dr. Porter wants to call it and categorize it.
Here we go again.
I don't know why they were studying there in the first place. I think it's weird. But it was not the bracelet.
It sure wasn't.
So we don't really know why. Because Felicity said you should give her the bracelet, but I think that just means that he's clearly still unsure and thinking about Felicity.
Oh, so this is a nice contrast because Felicity said that's what I would want, but you see Ruby getting so freaking excited about this Palm Pilot. They are two different people. They are so different. She was ecstatic about it, and I thought that was great. So
and she like loves Noel's nerdiness. Like she makes fun of him, but
that's
like
what
in
she
a teasing
likes about
way.
him to begin with, and likes like his watch. Like, oh, you're a real nerd, aren't you? Because he had that nice
bought a watch
whatever.
online. Huge nerd.
So, but she's always liked that about him, and he appreciated it. It was thoughtful. It wasn't impersonal. It was thoughtful because she is disorganized or unorganized. But she's like, like whichever one it is. I thought that was a nice way to show that the contrast between the two,
and that he does know her pretty well. Because again, like you said, we haven't seen a lot of moments since she's been gone between them, and so it did show. Like he even mentioned, oh, she always says how unorganized she is. And like literally when she opens it, she's like, oh my God, I'm so unorganized, disorganized, whichever one it is. But like it was like, oh, he picked up on that. And he's always been good at giving gifts. I feel like he's a good gift giver on the show.
Yeah, he's thoughtful.
Yeah. So I thought it was a very cute moment. And like that was the stuff that I feel like we had been missing.
Yes, absolutely.
So then back at the loft, Julie comes home, takes her coat off. Sean's like, wow, you look great. Again, is that normal for roommates? I don't know.
I tell Melissa that all the time.
Okay.
Damn, girl.
Ooh, you like my sweatshirts? Yeah.
Yeah.
My sweatpants?
Yes. We're twinsies.
So yeah, she tells Sean that she was dropping off her tapes to Eric, and then he bought her a pizza, and he's thinking about doing a demo deal. So they'll, record a couple of songs, and then if they like it, they'll sign her. But Sean's like, well, you didn't sign anything yet though, right? Because I think he was a little more interested in hitting on you than your music. And that pisses Julie off. She's like, what, just because I'm a girl, you think a guy's only like interested in hitting on me? And I was excited about your smoothies before and the investor. And so they kind of start going back and forth about the smoothies and Eric. And then Ben storms out of his room and tells them to shut up because he's staring at a blank computer screen still. And his paper is still due to like tomorrow. So then they're all like, that's fine. Julie's leaving anyway. So she storms out. Everyone's mad. Now, I wanted to say before that I thought Eric was slimy because what do we think here? Do we think it's only because he's got a crush on her and he's jealous? Because I don't hate Sean in this moment. I do kind of agree with him that like he seemed slimy and like just be careful. Like, yeah, he's being overprotective and probably a little jealous, but I didn't think he was like way off base for saying this to her. But what do you guys think?
Two things can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You could be jealous and protective.
Mm-hmm.
Like legitimately be like, I know slime when I see slime and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And also be jealous.
Cool.
Why? What did you think?
No, that is what I think. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just weird when we agree. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, what do we do now?
I know. I'm like, well, how do I transition? I don't know how to transition when we agree nor when we disagree. I don't know.
Yeah,
how
the
to
same way.
I'm just
Like,
I
okay.
don't know what to do. Okay. Cool. So now there is more sketching happening at Noel's between Felicity and Noel. She just doesn't let it lie. She says, I hope what I said earlier didn't freak you out. Noel says, no, it's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. But then he tells her that he gave Ruby the Palm Pilot. She's like, oh, did she like it? He's like, yeah, I think she did. Then Noel is struggling with his sketch. He thinks he made her look like a cute tomato. So he wants to try something that Bruce, this classmate, has recommended to them as like an artistic exercise. So before you draw, you get really close to the other person and stare into their eyes for a long time. Felicity's like, oh, like the eyes are the window to the soul type of thing. He's like, yeah, but you want to try it? So Felicity sits across from him on the couch so that they can stare into each other's eyes. Now, if I'm Felicity, I'm not complaining because I get to stare into his gorgeous hazel eyes forever. But
They're nice eyes.
Noel has just gifted Ruby a Palm Pilot and has not broken up with her or told her anything that would be anything except they're in a relationship. So Noel gets closer and closer to Felicity's face until Elena walks in. So they kind of jump apart, and Elena's like, hey, like, you were about to kiss. They're like, what? No, we were. She's like, hey, it's fine by me. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving. Like, go ahead, go for it. She's just kind of checking the mail, like, whatever. Elena.
The funniest shit ever.
Yeah. It
I
doesn't
love
have
it.
to be Thanksgiving.
So casual.
So then we transition to another dreamlike scene with more billowy curtains, and now Felicity's in bed with Noel spooning again, much like the nap that they took. His arms around her, and she looks under her pillow. And it's the bracelet that Noel bought for Ruby, but a bunch of the charms are like broken off. She picks it up, and then we zoom out and see that now Ruby is the big spoon to Felicity. And she says that she really wanted that bracelet. Felicity says, oh, yeah, me too. Ruby's like, interesting. She's like, so was this your idea? And she whips out the Palm Pilot. Oh, man. So then we go back to the loft, and Ben is still very frustrated about his final paper. He throws the highlighter across the room. He says that the paper is impossible. Sean's, doing his little financial calculations, and so he asks what Ben's paper is about. Ben says it's about the Invisible Man. He starts explaining the book. Sean kind of takes a look at the syllabus or the project and the book, and, Ben's like, I don't know, I feel like an idiot. Sean's like, well, you are an idiot, just not for the reason that you think. You're supposed to be reading Invisible Man by Ellison, not The Invisible Man by, I think they said H.G. Wells. Ben says, 2 books with the same name? That is so stupid. And you can just feel his, frustration, and
he's losing
it was so funny.
Can you say it again like he says it? You do the best accent.
I can't do it more than once.
Oh.
Maybe later.
Yeah, maybe
to close
do
the
it
show.
again later. But, I mean, yeah, he's just so pissed that there's 2 books with the same name, mostly the same name. One has the, one has no the.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I died laughing. There was not enough Ben in this episode because he was really funny. And Sean's like, no, it's not stupid. That's a metaphor. And then Ben starts laughing. And again, it was just that switch to frustration to now he's laughing about it. It was top choice acting in this scene. So then Julie comes in and tells Sean that Eric's partners liked her tape and they're going to draw up a contract. So Sean says that he's sorry. He was just being overprotective. Julie says now that she's really excited, she's like, yeah, I get to record my songs. But Sean reveals that the investor that wanted to invest in Smoothies was actually just a secretary. So that whole thing fell apart, but he still congratulates her, and she's very sorry about the Smoothies thing. So then back in her room, Felicity is sketching her eye, and Ruby knocks on the door and comes in. Ruby needs Felicity's advice. She at first thought it was going to be a little weird because she used to date Noel, but she's like, but that's actually why I do think that I should ask you these questions. So she's like, this just shows how lame I am with guys. She says that the film is giving her a per diem on top of her compensation, so she's thinking of getting Noel a ticket for a flight out to LA with her. She's asking Felicity because it seems extravagant. She's wondering if it would freak him out. And Felicity's a little cagey, says, I don't know. I don't think so. Ruby's like, okay, great. So you would give him the ticket, if you were me. Felicity's like, yeah, I would give it to him. Ruby's like, great. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give him the ticket. And I just love that. I just love the parallels to season 1. Noel got Felicity the tickets to Berlin, and now Ruby's doing that for Noel. I love a good kind of a callback to season 1 there.
I'm like, yeah, it won't freak him out. I mean, he invited Felicity out of the whole fucking country.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, flying to LA ain't shit. No, I'm pretty sure he'll be fine with that.
But yeah, Ruby doesn't know that, though.
I know, but just in my head, I was just like, oh, Felicity.
That's why Felicity was like, no, he'd be cool with it. He's that kind of guy. He's done it. He did it for me. So Felicity then rushes to Epstein Bar where Noel is to tell him, or to ask him, were you going to kiss me or not the other day? And he says yes. She's like, what about Ruby? Noel is confused. It's like, you dropped this bomb on me, and Ruby has been gone longer than they've been together. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, that kind of makes more sense, but they didn't break up. We don't know what conversations they've had. But he says that him and Felicity have had a much longer history. He's like, but I did mean that whole stuntman metaphor. He's like, but I might be willing to risk it again and trust her. So Felicity says, so if Elena hadn't walked in, Noel's like, I would have planted a big, non-drunk kiss on you. So Felicity's like, all right, well, maybe we should just think about it. So clearly Noel is very conflicted.
I mean, good for her, I guess, not dropping it. This is what the 3rd conversation she's had about hey, what's up, man?
She's more direct again.
Yeah.
Than the previous episodes. Yeah.
I got my wish.
Just for you.
Celebration.
Her hair's growing out a little more, so she's getting some of her old Felicity-ness back. I do love the little headband look, by the way, in this episode. I feel like she was wearing the little headband. I liked that on her with the short hair. Anyway. So Felicity then says that she didn't dream last night about Noel or anything. And that morning was her drawing final. She was feeling excited and kind of buzzing. She felt hopeful that maybe Noel and her were getting back together. But as she's leaving her room, Ruby walks up to her in the hallway and asks, "Are you and Noel getting back together?" Felicity's like, "What?" Ruby says,
"Why did you hear something?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't, like, just, what are you talking about? Like, don't admit to anything. Just like, what do you know? Why are you asking? So Ruby says, she's like, "It's like I finally met a guy I really like, someone I can trust. And then I get this movie." She's like, "I don't know what I'm doing with this movie thing. I'm in this hotel with all these creepy guys. But the only thing getting me through it are the care packages that Noel sends her." So she said there's all these little like toys and candy and sweet things in it, and she just loves it. And Felicity was like, "Oh, he was sending you packages?" She was like, "Oh, shit. I'm the devil." So then Ruby says that when she gave Noel the ticket to LA, he was touched by the gesture, but he seemed distant. And he wasn't sure if he could go, and she wasn't sure why. He didn't say. She said it's just that when Noel and Felicity talk, he's different. So she's like, "I just can't compete with you, Felicity." So Felicity says, "Of course I like Noel, but you don't have to worry about me. As complicated as it is, Noel and I are just friends." So seems like Felicity's gonna bow out. She's like, "All right, tapping out. You can have him." I thought that was interesting. I get why the packages are so sweet, but like, I don't know what that changed to make her not want to pursue him again.
Do you think that she didn't want to hurt Ruby and she like realized how much Ruby liked him? Or do you think hearing about the care packages made her realize Noel really likes Ruby and
was actually invested more than he
yeah.
seemed to be, because he didn't seem to be at all.
Yeah.
This entire season.
Or was it both things? Maybe like
Probably
could be both. That's this episode, but two things can be true. The two portraits, right? Both things can be true. So then back at the loft, Ben and Sean are writing Ben's paper, getting it in under the wire. Kind of a throwaway storyline. I don't know. I don't really understand the point of that, just to show that like Ben's back to his same old
just to
self.
give him something to do.
Give him something. Yeah. I don't,
like
he's
still
got to
exists.
have a little screen time.
Yeah, because Julie had more of a storyline, and then Sean and Ben are just kind of on the periphery of that because they all live together.
So I'm like, that was the end of that conflict. He got his paper in.
Yeah.
He went to the store, read a book. Somehow, in under 24 hours, Anna wrote a 5,000-word paper. I don't know how he did it. He's superhuman. Maybe.
Those were such a big deal
That's
back
true.
in the day.
They were.
I don't think they have much purpose now. Like, things are different now, but I feel like that was like what was up back in the day.
Yeah. That and just like watching the movie, if there was a movie.
If there was a movie, yeah, absolutely.
So now Felicity heads to her drawing class for her final. And Noel says that Sherman is going to murder them. He's like, "Prepare for the end of our educational careers." So Felicity says to Noel that Ruby came to see her. And she says that she thinks that he should go with Ruby. That Ruby had this tone in her voice. It was sweet and urgent and familiar. And she says it reminded her of herself when Hannah came to town, where Felicity was now the old girlfriend and Ruby is the new girlfriend. And again, I loved that parallel to season 1 because it's so true. It's like, oh yeah, like time to step away. And so I probably just answered my own question from before, like why she changed her mind in that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, she kind of realized like, okay, I had my moment with Noel. I had my chance. And now it's someone else's. So then Noel says that Felicity's right. He's going to go with Ruby. So then Sherman comes in, and Noel and Felicity's drawings are up on display, and she opens up the critique for their portraits. But overall, she says the positives outweigh the negatives. Clearly, from these two drawings, the two people could really see each other. So that was a very nice surprise. Sherman did keep it professional, but Felicity can't just leave it alone. So after class, she goes up to Professor Sherman, got to get in the last word there, and thanks her for the grade and the critique. She says it was very generous. And Sherman drops the mic. She says, "I was only critiquing the art, not the artist."
That was cold-blooded. I loved it.
But so good.
That delivery.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That could be another
I
away
suppose.
message too, Heather.
It could. I think it would be missing a little context, but yeah.
I would put that up.
I was critiquing
that
the
could be
art,
mine.
not the art.
Yeah, I absolutely would go
Savage.
with that. Savage.
I mean, we didn't have Megan, but I think that was a good Megan dig.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess she's going to pass her drawing class. So then Felicity says that Ruby was leaving a day early. So we see Noel sending Ruby off, and he does end up giving her the bracelet as she's on her way to the airport. So again, I think we're finally seeing now he's definitely not holding back with Ruby. He's, I guess, all in with her. But then Noel and Felicity walk to get cabs together to go to different airports for their flights for the holidays. Again, I mean, I know it's just for the show to get a little closure scene here, but it just, like, you don't live in the same place. You're not going to the same place. Like, why are you together getting cabs together? Like, the mechanics of it didn't make sense to me. So, but it is, of course, snowing and very beautiful.
Gotta be out on the street.
Yeah, you gotta be out on the gorgeous New York snowy street with all the Christmas decorations. So they hail a cab and she packs all her stuff in. And there's, again, a moment where they're like looking into each other's eyes and like, what do we say? What do we do? But then Felicity kisses him on the cheek and Noel says, have a good Christmas. Felicity says, you too. And she gets in the cab and heads to the airport. And that's the end.
Wish they could have done like a fist bump or something.
High five.
Yeah. Take her easy.
Just like nudge her. Pal.
The Shooter McGavin.
Oh.
So yeah, like I said, I wish all of that had happened much earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Team Noel person, like, I like their chemistry. I like when they're together. But this was such a disappointment and a letdown that like 9 episodes built to this, just to her being like, oh yeah, you should be with Ruby. I'm like, okay, so now episode 10, are we just gonna like start fresh again? Like it's a brand new season? I don't know. It felt like it was leading up to nothing here. And I'm not sure why they drew this out so long.
That's a great question. But it consistently, one thing that is consistent across seasons is the ambivalence amongst the different characters. Like, Felicity's like, do I want him or do I want him?
Mm-hmm.
And Noel was like, do I want Hannah or Felicity? Do I want Ruby or Felicity? And
everyone's confused all the time.
Yeah. And particularly disturbing or alarming or something that with Noel, the direction he tends to sway in seems to be led by the woman. Because when he was unsure about Hannah, like she was aggressively pulling him away, so he went along with it up to a point. And with the Ruby thing, I think he would have went along with Felicity if she pressed a little bit harder. But she's the one who had to shut it down instead of him, the one who's actively in the relationship. So that's kind of on Noel, you know. That's not a pro. That's not what is it? An A type of guy, A-list type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not A-list material if somebody else has to tell you, hey, like, no, we're not doing this.
Right.
My only defense would be, in that last class, it did seem to me like he had made up his mind too. When she was like, I think you should go with Ruby. I don't know. It almost seemed like he had already made his decision, but we don't really know.
But he had made a decision before and then went back on that and said, well, so I think somebody else has to draw the line for him to stick with it. He's like kind of just wishy-washy. He's like,
yeah. Well, and like you said, throughout all of the seasons, I also think the writers are always gonna like have unresolved feelings between the love triangle, right? Like Felicity's always gonna have feelings for both Ben and Noel. So I think there's always like, it's like semi-closure, but like again with the goodbye, it was like still kind of a window open.
It was a little
I don't
bit
know.
loaded.
Yeah, like the door was closed, but like the window, there maybe is still a window. So yeah, I think that's just what they do in the show. Like you got to always leave the opportunity for the love triangle again. But I don't know. I'm happy that we're moving forward now for everyone.
Sounds good to me.
It gets better from here, right? Yeah, it does.
We gotta go through the Greg phase though.
But I think those get good though. Like Greg is shitty, but I think the episodes are good.
Yes. There's some funny parts in there.
Oh, yeah.
The Greg with, yeah. I think that the writers kind of knew what they wanted to do for the end of the season, and then they just kind of faltered on like filling in how to get there.
I would agree with that.
They're like, okay, well, what do we do in the meantime? Because we can't do this right away. So let's do a little Noel. Let's do a little Greg. Let's do a little David. You know, just throwing out all they could to distract us.
Which I think is fine. Like, I like the idea of showing her just dating and like meeting random guys and dating. It doesn't have to be like going from one serious relationship to the next.
Or one Noel to the Ben, to the Noel, to the Ben.
Yeah, but that's what I don't like is the like confusion between which of these guys, and it's like the same guy we did from last season, and like you didn't want him, you wanted Ben, but then Ben dumped you, and now you want him again, but then you're also dating this other new guy. Like that's the stuff I don't like.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. Like it could be neither.
Yes,
and I get that that's the meat of the the whole love triangle thing and the premise, but they could have expanded off of that more. That could have been a great, first season or maybe like part of a second season thing, like really heavy into the love triangle, but branch out from.
I think she's. Sure. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm kind of thinking about like Dawson's Creek, where Joey and Pacey were together, and then they broke up, and then it was like many, many, many seasons in between where they dated all these different people and finally got together at the end. Spoiler alert. But yeah, so it's like I don't know. I feel like,
but they weren't interfering with each other's partners.
20-year-old spoiler.
Oh no, I'm sorry,
right?
everyone.
Like, but they didn't interfere with each other's dating lives in the interim of that.
Right.
No.
So that would have been cool to see.
Yeah,
if
she
it
went
was
off to college. Pacey, I think, didn't he stay in Cape Side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like pick whoever to be endgame, but there could be a lot of possibilities in the middle instead of like, oh, like I made a mistake breaking up with Noel, like just because it didn't work out with Ben. Like that doesn't mean breaking up with Noel was wrong. It just means neither one of them was a good choice. How about that?
And he's seeing someone already.
Yeah.
Leave it be. Because you are being Hannah, which none of us like Hannah. So don't be Hannah.
Yeah, she was being a Ben, and then she was being a Hannah. It's like, girl, get it together.
Be a Felicity.
Yeah.
Just do you for a bit.
Yeah. Or many other dudes. Do a lot of dudes.
Or
that
do
aren't
a lot of
Ben and Noel. Do a lot of Eli.
If only.
Yeah. No, that's troubling to me that they wrote her character to just be like locked in, like if it doesn't work out with one, it means I was wrong and the other one was right.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. Like you break up with millions of people before before you get to your end point, and doesn't mean you don't go backwards. She just goes backwards.
Yeah.
And this all could have been done in like ancient history episode.
Like an episode or 2 episodes, maybe. She could have dated like 4 guys by now. Or gone on dates.
She should be going to parties. Like, this is college.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
also, the guy she was like casually dating is a 26-year-old grad student photographer dude who just had a fiance that cheated. Like, go to a party.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, does Richard have any friends she can meet?
First of all, no, he doesn't. And second of all, no.
No. I know. Maybe Megan can set her up with somebody.
Instead of making eyes at Noel, make eyes with other hot art guys in your drawing class.
Yeah.
Pair up with someone single.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, somebody available. Second of all,
and not Bridget, who you're not into.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Felicity. Gotta get smarter. Well, it's now holiday break for Felicity and the gang. However, we will be back in 2 weeks for another episode.
See you then.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Felicity Was Here is produced, written, and edited by Heather, Melissa, and Dr. Joe. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Felicity Was Here Pod. If you're enjoying the pod, please leave us a review and help us spread the word. We appreciate you and would love to hear from Felicity superfans like us. So send us your feedback, ask us your burning questions, or just say hey at felicitywasherepod@gmail.com. We may even read your note in a future episode.